Hi, Professor. This is Christina here. So I'm presenting my week 4 VCS, which includes the chapter, just give me a moment. Yeah, which includes the chapter 6 and 7. Okay, let's move on to the slides. So the first slide, it just provides an introduction about the chapter 6, introduction to the consumer and the business markets. So the chapter overview is, it's all about distinguishing between the customer markets, B2C, and the customer markets, B2B, and explaining why understanding these distinctions is crucial for the marketing strategy. So that's the whole overview of the chapter. And I just pointed out the main topics that is discussing in the chapter 6. So the first key point is the consumer behavior. So consumer behavior is actually a process individuals or the groups go through to select, purchase, use, and dispose of goods, services, ideas, or the experiences to satisfy their needs and the desires. So customer decisions differ greatly, ranging from the habitual repeat purchases to complex external problem-solving activities for important risk purchases and etc. So when customers make important purchases, they go through a series of 5 steps. So in detail, the first one is they recognize there is a problem to be solved. Then they search for the information to make the best decision. Next, they evaluate a set of alternatives and judge them on the basis of various evaluating criteria. At this point, they are ready to make their purchasing decision. Following the purchase, consumers decide whether the product matches their expectation and may develop anxiety or regret or cognitive dissonance. So that's all about the customer behavior process, and it may dive into the customer behavior, discussing factors that influence the customer's buying decisions, such as cultural, social, personal, and psychological factors. And the second key note is the segmentation and the targeting. So this chapter covering the market segmentation techniques, including the demographic, psychographic, and behavioral segmentation, and how a business targets specific customer segments. And let's move on to the next slide. So it includes 2 key points. The first one is the consumer decision-making process. It's an explanation of stages in the consumer decision-making process, which often includes the problem recognition, information research, evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and the post-purchase evaluation. So in detail, several internal factors influence customer decisions. Perception is how customers select, organize, and interrupt stimuli. Motivation is an internal state that drives the customers to satisfy their needs. Learning is a change in behavior that results from the information or the experience. So behavior learning results from external events, where cognitive learning refers to a person, objective, or issue and includes 3 components: affect, cognition, and behavior. So personality influence how customers or the consumers responds to the situations in the environment. And let's move on to the next key point, it's the business marketing. So it may discuss the characteristics of the business markets, including the types of the business involved, buying process, and factors affecting business to business, that is B2B purchasing decisions. And the next keyword is the market research. In detail, so it gives a brief information about the importance of the market research in understanding the consumer and business markets, including the methodologies and the data sources. So B2B markets include the business or the organization customers that buy goods and services for purpose other than the personal consumption. Besides, the customers include the products, resellers, governments, and the not-for-profit organizations. So there are a number of major and minor differences between the organizational and consumer markets. To be successful, marketers must understand these differences and develop. The customers are usually few numbers, and they may be geographically concentrated, and they often purchase higher priced products in larger quantities. So business demand derives from the demand for another good or service is generally not affected by price increase or decreases. Is subjected to the great fluctuations and may be tied to the demand and availability of some other good. So the market trends, which includes a discussion of the current market trends and developments in both consumer and business markets, which may include the digital marketing, e-commerce, and globalization. That is all about the chapter 6. Okay, let's move on to the chapter 7 of the marketing management, which is segmentation, target, marketing, and positioning. So the introduction is all about the chapter begin by explaining what market segmentation is and why it's important in marketing. And it's also discussed the various bases of segmentation, such as demographic, geographic, psychographic, and behavioral factors. These few points were noted in the last chapter. So chapter 7 is all about the more detailed information about those points. And so let's be into more detail. So steps in the marketing process, as we mentioned before, it's segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Okay, so segmentation means identify and describe the market segments, and targeting is evaluate segments and decide which to go after. And the position is design a product or service to meet the segments, need to develop a marketing mix that will create a competitive advantage in the minds of selected market targets. And let's get into the segmentation strategies. So it covers the different segmentation strategies include undifferentiated marketing, differentiated marketing, concentrated marketing, and the micro marketing. Each strategy involves targeting specific segments of the market. So into the more detail, segmentation, as we mentioned before, it's a process that divides the market into subsets of the customers who behave in the same way, have similar needs or similar characters to relate to the purchaser's behavior. And many different dimensions, or it is also known as the segmentation variables that marketers can utilize, which are the age and generation marketing, family life cycle, etc. And let's move on to the target market section. So a section dive into the process of selecting target markets. It often involves evaluating the attractiveness of the different market segments based on the factors like size, growth, potential, competition, and fit with the company's resource and the capabilities. So as we discussed before, targeting the market is evaluate each potential segment and decides upon which groups of customers they will invest marketing resources. That is all about the targeting and selecting groups that are known as the targeting markets. So the phases of the market targeting are evaluate market segments, develop segment profiles, and choose a targeting strategy. So we can move on to the next slide. Just give me a moment. So the next point is the positioning. So the chapter is discussing the positioning as a critical step in marketing strategy. This involves creating a distinct and favorable perception of a product or a brand in the minds of consumers with the chosen target market. Into the more detail. So as we mentioned in the intro part, positioning is developing a marketing strategy aimed at influencing how a particular market segment perceived a product in comparison to the competition. So what are the stages in positioning that are analyze competitors, offer competitive advantage, match mix to that target, and evaluate target's response. And the developing a marketing strategy aimed at influencing how a particular market segment perceives a product in comparison to the competition. So that is what positioning is. And let's move on to the next point, that is value proposition. Just a moment. Okay, so value proposition, it's also explore the concept of value proposition, which is the unique benefit or value that a product or a brand offers to its target market. And effective positioning often relies on a compelling value proposition. And the next segment, and the next point is the segmentation, targeting, and positioning STP process. It's all about the conclusion of all three, and which is known as the STP process. So the overall chapter provides a structured approach to the STP process, outlining the steps a marketer should take to identify, select, and position a target market. And the next keyword is the competitive analysis. So the chapter provides a brief information about how competitive analysis plays a role in segmentation and positioning, and understanding the competitive strength and weakness can help in identifying the opportunities differentiation. And at last, the reference, the chapter 6 and chapter 7. And that's all about the presentation. Thank you.